Happy birthday, DerpHog! Woo! Alright, hello everyone, I am Quartermonch437, and in order to celebrate the DerpHog's birthday, we are going to take a look at North Carolina Route 42. North Carolina Route 42 goes directly through the DerpHog's hometown, or at least the town where he lives in, Beachwave Arena. And if we take a look at the map here, we can see that North Carolina 42 starts in Asheboro at a junction with Interstate 73, 74, and US Route 220. And it goes through 223 miles of central North Carolina, ending in eastern central North Carolina in Coleraine, where it meets up with North Carolina Route 45. And if you enjoy what you see today, please be sure to give a like on the video. If you have any feedback for me, or if you want to discuss the route any further, please leave a comment down below. And of course, if you really enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. So with all of that out of the way, let us start talking about eastbound North Carolina Route 42. Starting on Interstate 73, Interstate 74, and US 220, we can see that at this left exit where North Carolina Route 42 begins, it gets signed for Asheboro to start, and I think that makes sense because we are still west of downtown, and 42 will take you into downtown Asheboro. And then if we look off of that exit, we can see straight ahead is the beginning of North Carolina 42. And if you want to get back to Interstate 73, 74, and US 220, you can go straight ahead. And then we make a right turn and we get our reassurance sign for North Carolina 42. This is our first one right here. After going through downtown Asheboro, on the other side we meet Business US 64 and North Carolina Route 49. And on our first mileage sign, on the top one, we get Coal Ridge at 14 miles away, and Bennett is our bottom line at 22 miles away. And I do not agree with these choices. Yeah, it's a state route, so I can understand not signing like huge towns from far away, but like there is literally nothing in either of these places. I would make an argument for Sanford on the bottom line here. And here we are meeting US 64, the regular US 64, and it gets Siler City and Lexington. And since this is a more substantial route, yeah, these definitely should not be Siler City and Lexington. They should be something else. Here we are in Coal Ridge, meeting up with North Carolina Route 22. I'm pretty sure this is basically the only reason we were even signing Coal Ridge, is just because of this intersection, and now we can see that we're still signed for Bennett on this directional sign. So here's basically the only reason why I could see we were signing Bennett, is because we're meeting North Carolina Route 902 here. So, whoa, awesome stuff. I'm really glad that you put Bennett on there for this. Whoa, great job, North Carolina. So here is our next mileage sign as we get High Falls on the top line at only 4 miles away, and Carthage is on the bottom line at 16 miles away. So they are completely favoring North Carolina 22 here, because North Carolina 42 doesn't go to either of these places, even though 42 is by far the much more major route. So this is pretty stupid. And here we split off from North Carolina 22, and once again we can see that Carthage is straight ahead on North Carolina 22. And now we finally get Sanford on sign, so about time. But when we look at our next mileage sign, we can see that Sanford is on the top line at 23 miles away, and we get Clayton 73 miles away as our bottom line. Now, normally this would make me pretty excited to see a place signed from so far away, but in the process, North Carolina completely skips over Fuquay-Varina, and Fuquay-Varina is much closer to here than Clayton, and it is also bigger than Clayton. So North Carolina, why are you skipping Fuquay-Varina? This sign makes no sense at all. Now, if you were to put Fuquay as a bottom line at, I don't know, like 50 miles away or whatever, I'm not sure entirely how far away it is from here, but like that's what you should have on the bottom line. Or maybe put Fuquay as a top line, and I don't know. Either way, Clayton should not be on the bottom line at 73 miles away. Like, yeah, that's a fine place for a state route, but this is completely ridiculous that you're skipping over Fuquay-Varina. It should absolutely be on this sign in some way. Just west of Sanford, we're meeting US routes 115 and 501, and they get absolutely no control city at all. Like, I'm not leaving a sign out of this picture or anything. They just straight up do not get a control city southbound. So this is also just absurd. But if we look at our turn to get onto northbound 115 and 501, they all get signed for Walleye. So what the heck? Why is there not a sign for both control cities at the southbound ramp? This is just ridiculous. After that intersection, we are concurrent with North Business 1, and they don't tell you that at all, so just like, what are they doing here? This is absolutely nonsensical. Why don't they want to give you any information? In downtown Sanford, we meet up and are going to become concurrent with Business US 421, although they list it as regular US 421 for some reason, so that is weird. Here is the beginning of North Carolina 78, and we will be turning left to leave Business 421, and then we get this mileage sign with Corinth on the top line, and now we finally get Fuquay-Varina on a mileage sign. It is on the bottom line at 27 miles away. So once again, what took so long? Now we're meeting regular US 421, and it doesn't get any control cities either at this intersection. It gets 2 US 1, but that's really about all the information you get. So this is yet another intersection where they just are as unhelpful as possible. I am about to get really angry again if this keeps happening. The DerpHog wanted to see the Cape Fear River, so here is the bridge crossing over that as we enter Chatham County, leaving Lee County. And here is one of his own pictures of North Carolina 42. He got this picture of this mileage sign with Corinth now only 1 mile away, and Fuquay is still 15 miles away. He also wanted to see Piney Grove Woburn Road, so here is a picture of that intersection. And now here we are coming into Fuquay Arena as we get this really nice welcome sign, so that's cool. And here is the Judd Parkway. This was yet another one of the DerpHog's requests. Naturally, he had a bunch of them because this is the route that goes through the town where he lives, obviously, as we've already established. And here we are meeting US 401 as we get these weird North Carolina Route 42 signs that have a small number on them. So that's interesting. Here are our reassurance shields for North US 401 and North Carolina 42 as we go through the town of Fuquay Arena. And I just wanted to get this picture because you know me, if you've watched some of my other videos, I love trains, and I feel like if I were to visit the town of Fuquay Arena, I would want to spend some time at this railroad crossing and see if I could see any trains. We meet North Carolina 55, and eastbound North Carolina 55 is going to join our concurrency of North Carolina 42 and 401 as it gets signed westbound for Apex and Durham, so that is a cool sign. And now we get this reassurance sign of 401, North Carolina 42 and 55. Here is our other meeting of the Judd Parkway going this direction. And now North Carolina 42 and 55 are splitting off from US 401. And shortly after, North Carolina 42 also splits off from North Carolina 55 as we now get signed for Willow Spring and Clayton. So here's our next mileage sign. Willow Spring is on our top line at only 2 miles away, and Clayton is our bottom line at 19 miles away. I feel like you could have maybe Clayton just being the top line and something else being on the bottom line. I'm not 100% sure yet. Here we are meeting North Carolina 50, and this was also a request from the DerpHog. Now we're meeting Interstate 40 and westbound. It gets signed for Raleigh, and eastbound, what else but Benson? Welcome to North Carolina. We love provincial control cities, as always. Now we're meeting US Route 70, and it gets signed for Garner, Smithfield, and Selma. And we were concurrent with US 70 East for a little bit, but now we are splitting off from US 70 as 70 gets signed for downtown Clayton, and we now get signed for Wilson. I guess that's probably what you should have had on the bottom line of that other mileage sign. Now we're meeting Business US 70 as we make this left turn to stay on North Carolina 42 at this sheet. Here we're getting another mileage sign. Now Wilson is on the top line, and we get Pine Tops signed from 50 miles away on our bottom line. And that is a tiny, tiny town that should not be on the bottom line. I feel like this is actually a rare situation where I would kind of like to see Wilson being the only thing here at 34 miles away. Or you could just go with Tarboro, because that is a bigger place that, while not on 42 itself, is served by US 258, which we will be meeting a little bit later down the road. The DerpHog also wanted to see North Carolina 222. I'm not entirely sure why, but this is his birthday celebration video, so I might as well include it. Now we're meeting Interstate 95, and it gets signed northbound for Rocky Mountain, south for Smithfield, as opposed to Richmond and Fayetteville, although I already did the bit, so that's the explanation why. And now we get another mileage sign with Wilson only 8 miles away on the top line, and Pine Top's 25 miles away, once again, as opposed to Tarboro. And now here we are meeting Interstate 587, 795, and US 264, and they all get signed for Greenville and Raleigh, so those are good choices. In Wilson, we meet and are going to be concurrent with alternate US Route 264 for a little bit. And then later on, we meet North Carolina Route 58, which the DerpHog said if he was making a video on this route, he would have included it. I'm not 100% sure why, but since he said that, I might as well put it in. And now here we are meeting US Route 301. And here is yet another US route, a pretty major one too, that just gets no control cities at all, so not really a fan. Here we are meeting North Carolina 124 as we are still getting signed for Pine Tops. Once again, not exactly a great choice there, although I guess now maybe it's not so bad because we're closer to it, and North Carolina 42 does go there into the state route, although once again I just wouldn't have signed it from 50 miles away. We got another mileage sign, and on this one, Pine Tops is our top line at only 6 miles away now, and we get Tarboro 17 miles away on the bottom line. So that is pretty cool to see. Again, would have liked to see that sooner. We meet North Carolina 43, and we're actually going to have a concurrency with South North Carolina 43, although in typical North Carolina fashion on North Carolina 42, we don't get told that we're going to have a concurrency. It just looks like 43 begins looking at this sign. Now we're meeting US 258, and that is going to be your route to Tarboro, why it should be on the signs. And then after that intersection, we get another mileage sign, and now we get Greenville 19 miles away on the top line, and Washington, North Carolina 41 miles away on the bottom line. And I'm actually not really sure how to feel about that. And we meet US Route 64 as it gets signed for Tarboro and Williamston. Good choices there. We are now going to become concurrent with North Carolina Route 11, and we get a mileage sign with Oak City on the top line and Ahoskie 36 miles away on the bottom line. And I think that's probably the right choice because I believe it is the biggest town that we will pass through on the whole rest of North Carolina 42 from this point. And now North Carolina 11 goes straight as we make this right turn to go to Ahoskie. Now we get another mileage sign. I believe this is actually our last mileage sign, with Ahoskie only 3 miles away and Coleraine being our bottom line at 19 miles away, where North Carolina 42 will end. In Ahoskie, we are meeting up with US 13 and North Carolina 561. North US 13 is getting signed for Winton, and we are going to be concurrent with southbound US 13 and North Carolina 561, and all of these routes get signed for Powellsville, which is just a really, really tiny town, and I feel like they're only just doing that so they don't double down on, like, Williamston and stuff, although I feel like you could just do that and it wouldn't be a big deal, but I don't know, that's just me. Here is our reassurance sign for North Carolina 561, 42, and US 13. Now here is US 13 splitting off to go to Windsor, which is another potential choice they could have put on there. And now we are getting signed for Powellsville, as opposed to Coleraine, which was on the bottom line of that mileage sign, as I explained. But here is Coleraine, where North Carolina 42 ends, and we meet up with North Carolina 45. So, with all of that said, let us now talk about Westbound North Carolina 42. Here's our first reassurance sign on Westbound 42. And then on our first mileage sign, we get Powellsville 10 miles away on the top line, and we get Ahoskie 15 miles away on the bottom line. Now we're meeting US 13 once again, and we basically get no other information here, so that is not great. And then North Carolina 561 and US 13 split off to go to Winton. And now we get signed for Olander, which is just the next town right down the road. Again, I think it could probably go with Tarboro here. And then on the next mileage sign, Olander is our top line at 8 miles away, and Greenville is 58 miles away on the bottom line. So that is a good choice. Here we're meeting with North Carolina Route 11 once again. And now here's the end of the 11 and 42 concurrency. 11 just goes straight ahead, although they just don't tell you that at this sign, where they do tell you that we're going to have a concurrency with 142. So that is, again, just really confusing and frustrating that they keep doing this on all of these signs that we've been seeing on this route. Now here is where 42 leaves the 142 concurrency, and we are now getting signed for Conto and Wilson. I think just Wilson will do the job there. And here we are meeting US 64, and it gets the same control cities once again. Just east of Conto, we meet alternate US 64, and we get this sign that looks like it's upside down. And I guess the eastbound control city is Hamilton, and we still get signed for Conto, even though we're basically in Conto at this point, and that should just say Wilson now, so I could not find any mileage signs west of Conto, so I looked at the junction with North Carolina 33, and now we're getting signed for Pine Tops, even though Wilson is not that much farther away from here, and they had already put Wilson on a sign before, so I don't know why they put it on one sign and then it goes away for a while. They're just waiting now until Wilson is the next place over to sign it. And in other cases, I might be fine with that, but since they signed Wilson from so far out, this just makes North Carolina look kind of provincial, and I don't understand why they're doing this. Here is where we meet and become concurrent with North Carolina Route 43 once again. And then we get a mileage sign with Pine Tops only 3 miles away on the top line, and Wilson 21 miles away on the bottom line where it belongs. And we meet US 301 once again, and it is getting signed for Wilson, going southbound and Rocky Mount. 301 and 42 kind of form like a beltway around Wilson. 301 is like the southern leg of it, and 42 is the northern leg of it, so that is pretty interesting. And here we are meeting 587, 795, and 264 once again, as they get the good choices of Greenville and Raleigh once again. And if we look on those routes, we can now see that 42 is getting signed westbound for Clayton, which I did get angry about in the eastbound portion, but that was only because it seemed like they were favoring it over other places along the way, such as Fuquay-Varina, when Fuquay is bigger than Clayton, but in this direction, it's fine because Clayton is the next big place along the way. So it works on this sign. And we meet Interstate 95 once again as it gets its really, really bad choices, which should be Richmond and Fayetteville. And then we got this mileage sign where we get Clayton as a top line 25 miles away, and Fuquay Arena comes onto our bottom line now at 45 miles away. So that is really cool to see. And then here we are meeting Business US 70 once again. And then we get this exit for 42 West, now signed for Fuquay Arena. Then we meet regular US 70 once again, getting signed for Smithfield and Selma and Garner, the same choice we had before. Now we're meeting North Carolina 50 at this sheets. Pretty cool background for this interchange going this way. And here we are meeting North Carolina 55 once again, as we're going to become concurrent with it. Still signed for Fuquay Arena. And then both of these highways meet up with US 401 once again, as we're going to have our 3 route concurrency once more. Here is the Judd Parkway, our first meeting of it, going this way. Here is where North Carolina 55 splits off, and this is actually one of the DerpHog's pictures, so thank you for providing me with this. And now here is where North Carolina 42 splits off from US 401 in downtown Fuquay Arena, as it gets signed for Fayetteville, and we are now getting signed for Sanford. So that is really cool. After we leave US 401, we get another one of these weird reassurance signs for North Carolina 42 with these small numbers. And then we get a mileage sign with just Sanford at 27 miles away. So if you're going to go with one, then yeah, go with Sanford. And this is also another picture that the DerpHog himself took. And now here is our other meeting of the Judd Parkway going west on North Carolina 42. This was another request by the DerpHog, this country store on the western outskirts of Fuquay Arena. So here is that for you. And we cross over the Cape Fear River once again. I just wanted to show this because, you know, why not? I don't think there's really any other major rivers that 42 goes over. We meet US 421 once more, and once again, it does not get any control Cs at all, so North Carolina continues to just not give us any information at all, which is really frustrating. And then here we meet Business 421 once again, as we become concurrent with it, going through downtown Sanford, although they mislabel it as regular US 421, so I don't understand why they do that when on Business 421, when it is not concurrent with 42, they label it correctly. So that just makes my head hurt. And also, this is yet another picture from the DerpHog when he went to Sanford. We split off from Business 421 as we joined Business 1, leaving Sanford. And the DerpHog wanted to see this, the Fairview Dairy Bar, because he went to go here to eat one time he went to Sanford. We meet up with regular US 115 and 501 once again, as they now get signed for Southern Pines going southbound. We didn't get that on the other direction. I don't know why. And once again, they get signed for Raleigh northbound. So cool. Here we are meeting up with North Carolina Route 22 once again. And then we get this mileage sign with Bennett on the top line, only 2 miles away. And we get Asheboro on the bottom line at 25 miles away. So that's good that they start signing Asheboro now. Here we meet North Carolina at 902 once again. And then we get this mileage sign where Coleridge is on the top line at 8 miles away, and Ramseur is 16 miles away on the bottom line. And Coleridge is where North Carolina 22 will split off, and Ramseur is where that is going. So once again, they completely favor North Carolina 22. Like, why? Once again, North Carolina 42 is the more important highway on this concurrency, and it is going to Asheboro, which is way bigger and has more important stuff going on in it. So why are you favoring North Carolina 22 once again? Put Asheboro on. Ay. So here is where we split off from North Carolina 22. They get signed for Ramseur, and now we are finally signed for Asheboro once again. And then we meet US 64, which gets signed for Lexington and Siler City. When I did the other recording, I thought that Lexington was not the right choice. It is, so I want to correct that now. But yeah, Siler City should not be there either. And then we come into Asheboro and we meet up with US 64 Business in North Carolina at 49 once again. As we also get 2 US 220 right there. And then we get Lexington one way, Ramseur and Siler City the other way. And then just like on Interstate 99, when one of the mileage signs for Altoona broke off and they put Altoona 27 miles away, just a brand new sign, they didn't make a whole new sign, they just slapped that under there. We get the same treatment here with Raleigh. Like, it's almost as if Raleigh is just not as important as these other places. So what the heck is this all about? And finally, we come to the end of Westbound North Carolina 42 as we meet up with Interstate 73, 74, and US 220. And they get signed for Buckingham and Greensboro. So those are good choices for that concurrency. And with that, we now move on to quarter march 437s the way it should be for North Carolina Route 42. Now, I mentioned a couple times that, yeah, it's fine to sign state routes for smaller places, but to be honest, I still wouldn't really consider most of the places that North Carolina Route 42 goes to big enough to be sign worthy, even for a state route, because there just really isn't much of anything in between a lot of these bigger towns. Like, a lot of the places just have like a couple hundred people, so yeah. With all of that out of the way, let's actually start talking about the places that North Carolina 42 should be signed for. Going eastbound, I would say it should be Sanford, then Fuquay-Varina, Clayton, Wilson, Tarboro, Ahoskie, and then finally Coleraine, just because that's where the road ends. And westbound, I would say from the start, go with Ahoskie, then Wilson, because I mean, they sign it basically from Ahoskie on like one sign. I think they should keep that up. And then Clayton, Fuquay-Varina, Sanford, and Asheboro. With all of that out of the way, I would like to outline my future plans for the upcoming road videos that I have. After this video, I'm going to be doing the first part of northbound US Route 19. After that, I'm not 100% sure entirely, because these US 19 videos have been pretty draining and hard to make they've been really tough, taking a lot of me, so I'm probably going to be doing another route before I finish up the US 19 series, when we continue to go from the southern US 19 split up to Pennsylvania. So in between the two 19 northbound videos is going to be another one, but I'm not 100% sure what that'll be yet. But definitely after that video, then we will finish up US 19. But for right now, thank you all so much for watching this video about North Carolina Route 42. And until the next video, everyone, I will see you then. Have a good one.